Peace, and blessings, everyone. Welcome to another live session with our folks on the front lines in the Congo. And today we have a very special returning guest, our brother Omonde, Williams Omonde, who works in the displacement camps in the east of Congo, Goma, around Goma in particular, the Good Samaritans. And he's just been an incredible resource for keeping us up to date on what's unfolding in the camps, the needs, the challenges, you name it. We can hardly find someone better to give us some keen insights about what's unfolding among predominantly women and children that are found in the camp. So, Omonde, welcome. Say hello to folks and just share with them who you are and what you do.
Thank you so much, dear Ed Morris. I'm so happy again to talk this time to our audience that is very precious. And I'm Williams Omonde, as Elder Morris said just briefly. And we are working here in DRC, North Kivu Province, Goma City, and around. Now we are doing the internal displacement site, where the movement of the people have been done from the villages, territories, and comes to live in the internal displacement site. Since now we are going to 3 years of these people to sit and to live there in those internal displacement sites, where we have also around 2.7 million of people living in internal displaced site, not in Goma, but some of the people are living around Goma, and other internal displaced sites are in the South Kivu province, in the place called Minova usually. But around Goma alone, we have closer to the 2 millions, and the other number of the people are living in the other side. But also to talk about this, as we are talking today, the crisis has continued now because it has affected also another movement of people. It has created another movement of people in the upper north, where we called Lubero territories. Now we are counting now the numbers of the internal displaced people have increased. Yet the humanitarian assistance is very limited. Even those ones who have who came before the actual crisis, it is difficult to reach out to them. So we are here as the Good Samaritan for Education organization, together with the Basandja Coalition this year. We are doing a very tremendous work in coming directly to the assistance of the internal displaced people who are already living in a precarious life, difficult life. So your assistance, your work that we are doing, dear Morris, and a friend of the Congo and the Basandja Coalition, is so great and well appreciated by the communities here. I think in the talk we'll be talking also about that and the numbers and the needs that are present here right now in
right. But before we get to that, thank you, Omonde, for that. You know, we've been following things on the diplomatic front with some level of anticipation and caution, where there were reports that the Luanda Accord that's being shepherded by President Lorenzo of Angola, under the auspices at the behest of the African Union, was going to deliver some kind of agreement that people would hope will ultimately create a situation where all those displaced people you talked about could go back, to their villages, because that's the number one request of the people, for them to be able to go back. However, we see that scheduled meeting between President Tshisekedi and President Paul Kagame, and the reason why President Tshisekedi would be meeting with President Paul Kagame is because Rwanda has 4,000 troops, according to the United Nations, in the Congo, Eastern Congo, and they're the primary backers of the M23. They're embedded with the M23. There's some people even say the M23 is Rwanda's militia in the Congo, and they've occupied the size of a territory that's half the size of Rwanda. And however, President Kagame, who was supposed to be at this peace accord, the Luanda meeting with President Tshisekedi, he didn't show up. And in the meantime, his militia group, the M23, they have occupied more territory. They've taken key towns, and the situation is getting worse by all accounts. With that in mind, with the level of the urgency, we see Doctors Without Borders saying that the number of rape cases that has occurred this year far exceeds the previous year. You mentioned the numbers that did you hear? You mentioned the numbers that of people who are displaced in around Goma. What is from you and other relief supporters and local grassroots activists? What is your sense of? Is there any kind of hope that the Luanda Accords or any other peace accord will actually lead to some kind of peace and stability anytime soon?
Yes, I don't see the hope very soon because, as you have explained it in your talk, the Luanda corridor, the Luanda mediation, this one via the President Lorenzo, of trying to bring both DRC government leaders and Rwandese government leaders, I mean President Tshisekedi and President Kagame from Rwanda to Angola, that plan has failed now. And as it has failed, there are many reasons from both sides, either Rwanda or DRC. Each one has its own reason. And for us as humanitarian, keeping in mind our neutrality principle of not belonging to any part of this conflict, we are just trying to analyze what is going on ground and how it is impacting, affecting the people in communities that are under conflict. Let me now come to the question, as you asked. Seeing the fails of this process of Luanda, when it fails, directly war resumed, conflict resumed among the M23, the Wazalendo's troop, and the DRC army, or the FRDC, as it is called. So now, since last week, there has been war ongoing, and sometimes M23 is failing, sometimes they are taking territories, and it is creating more movement of the population. When we call the movement of the population in humanitarian jargon, this just means it is creating more displacement of the people. And when people are getting displaced, they are being displaced in big numbers. Thousands of people are moving from one village to another village. That is one. That is for last week. For this week, yesterday, Monday, how it is having another impact on the people who have been in displacement site since the war started. Before the Luanda process of last week, this one on 15th December failed, some people were now returning home to their territories because of the kind of stabilities that have been seen in the region, the territories occupied by the M23. We have counted around closer to 300 or 400 families that have gone back. But yesterday, the war started again in Rutshuru territory and Nyiragongo. That has pushed the government of DRC to close the road from Goma to Rutshuru. So it means that even the people who returns back to Rutshuru, they are going like being exposed to a new kind of conflict, of armed conflict, that is going to impact also, to have another impact on their life. That
so,
is one.
Omonde,
The people who are living...
Omonde, quickly, the people who have, those 300 to 400 families who have returned, are you saying that they're trapped now between the government forces and the M23? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. That is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that they're attacked, but they are living in villages that are in war.
Battleground.
It is declared
the heart of the battle.
You see, those villages. So these people can be again displaced anytime. You see, that is one. It means that to say that they have a hope very soon to return or to be stable, that is not being seen today, because even the people whom we are assisting in the internal displacement site, this last month assistance and this month assistance, when you see at them, when you speak with them, you don't see kind of hope. Their hope, of course, their need, their primary need is to go back to their land, what we call ancestral land, to cultivate, to sow, to have harvest in their ancestral land. But it is not a hope, it's a need. And when it's a need, it simply means that they don't have hope to go back now, soon. Maybe this year again is going to be very dark. It is not going to be like there is a light there. As the front is still going and going, we don't see people returning back as soon as possible. But our prayer, to be now a humanitarian, our prayer is to see these people going back to their home, having stability, doing their activities from their houses, because as you have seen, they are living in shelters, and those shelters are almost destroyed. And as they are destroyed, they are like hopeless people. They're like helpless people. No one is coming to assistance, and sometimes humanitarians also are getting tired of going over 1 year, 2 years, 3 years.
So you're saying among the humanitarian organizations, there's like fatigue that's building in.
Of course, let me tell you, you know the Bushagara site where we have been before.
Yes.
Together with you, and where we have given the tent to the 200 families. There have been a humanitarian, what we call the DRC Humanitarian Fund, that has stopped to finance for this year. Their fund is finished, and many organizations as well, they are like tired of giving their support to the crisis that has been there for a long time. And as we all know, in humanitarian principle, there are emergency assistance, there are resilience assistance, and there are development assistance. Now, this emergency assistance, it can only take 3 months or not more than 3 months or 6 months. If it's above 6 months, now the people, they are considered to be reintegrated, to be socially reintegrated into communities. Why
even though they're in the camps?
If they are in the camp, there are some kind of activities that can be done that will integrate them in the communities. But the context that they are living in, it doesn't allow them to be easily reintegrated, because the cries is like repeating. They're like, I want to go back, but they're like blocked somewhere to go back. And this is bringing up some new other crises. Let me tell you, they're not only affected by war, but there are also epidemics that are coming in the North Kivu province. We are talking about mpox. We are talking about the Marburg that is coming from Rwanda to DRC. We can have cholera diseases. We have so many issues, challenges that they are facing. And these challenges, like epidemics, are creating more emergencies that these people are facing.
So it's like a polycrisis. They're metastasizing and just adding on to each other. It makes it, I guess, it taxes not only the humanitarian contingent, right? But I can imagine that the state, the government of North Kivu, and just the infrastructure overall. If you have a city that's used to having, I don't know, 500,000 to 1 million, and now you have 2 million, up to 2 million around the city, that's got to weigh on the entire city, the infrastructure, the city administration, the population itself. How are they managing that? How are they dealing with that? Are there any kind of, has the federal government, the Tshisekedi administration, attempted any kind of intervention to mitigate all of these challenges that you're laying out?
What can I say? First of all, I can start from the local communities that welcomed these internal displaced people. They are well affected by all that is happening. Imagine the city of Goma, which used to live by, which used to have like 1 million people. Then you add to the 1 million people, 2 million of people. You see that? So it creates more crisis, not only on the city, but also on the environment of the city. Trees are being cutted by these internal displaced people to get firewood, and also the agriculture spaces that people used to utilize before the crisis are occupied by these millions of people in internal displaced site. As you have seen to the site that we go where we saw militaries group in training, the site Muja, that used to be an agriculture zone, you see. But now, because of the internal displaced people, the village is no longer an agriculture zone. It has become now like a zone that is occupied by the internal displaced people. Let me go to schools. Many schools now are closed. We are counting in education cluster more than 1,700 schools that are closed. And these all schools are, we're having like 255,000 children studying in those schools. So when we see these schools closed because of the war, because of the conflict, all of these children who used to study there, they came inside in Goma. And in Goma, they don't have a lot of space to learn from. So they are obliged to go in some schools, as there are free education promoted by the actual government of President Tshisekedi. All internal displaced children are supposed to go in schools. And when they go in schools, they found their autochthon children, these families, the host family, as we call them. When they found the host children in those schools, you found now one classroom that was constructed, that was built to only have in each side 50 children. It is having now 300 children. So you can have this is like an impact on the education of the host families, children, and it an impact also on the social well-being of the host families as well. That is another side. So what is the government doing in terms of coming to assistance or in terms of preventing these continuing crises? The DRC government, of course, facing all of these challenges, I won't say that they are not doing nothing. They are trying to do their best at the ground, at their level, but they are like tired with what is going on. They're like seeing when will these things come to take an end. And what they are doing, they are much involved in supporting the military forces to fight on the battlefield, but to come in assistance to the internal displaced people, I don't confirm that they're giving something to the internal displaced people. It's just like private people who sometimes they come with short assistance, with humanitarian now organizations that are much engaged in doing all the assistance, mostly water, health, food distribution in some camps. You remember Bushagara, they told us that since the camp is there, they have never get any food assistance.
Right.
Just the week when we went for the distribution of tents, that when the World Food Program came with the first food distribution, food assistance in that camp, and it was like a manna coming from heaven, which comes so well fastly. So it's a tireless situation and conditions that people are living in. Mostly, you will see on the images that I shared with you. In some places, we are sharing, we are distributing the tents to children. This has affected me so much. We are giving tents to children. It means that these children who are there, they are called like chief of household, chief of houses. So when they become, how they become chief of houses, it is because their parents, they have missed their parents maybe when they were coming from their villages where they ran from to reach the site. They don't have parents. Maybe their parents died in the way, which information they don't have. So when we conducted the identification of the beneficiaries of these 200 tapolines that we distributed, we found those children there who have their small shelters. And their shelters also were all completely damaged. You see that? As the shelters was completely damaged, we found them having these, what we call the permit of living in the internal displaced camp or the IDP camp. We registered them. They came and we give to them the tapolines to put on the upper roof of their shelters to cover just themselves. Yes, these kind of assistance are being done by only humanitarian, but not by the government. The government is just very much concerned on the diplomatic approach and the military forces approach. Those are the two approaches that they are much concerned about. But about coming to assistance like giving food, giving water, giving infrastructures, giving health, giving any kind of assistance, they are not doing that. It's only humanitarian who are doing that.
Omonde, you said something there that caught my attention, or a lot caught my attention, but one in particular. You're saying that these children are on their own in the camps because they've lost their parents, and they are basically left to their own devices. Like, what age group are you talking about? Are they like,
yes,
teenagers or?
There are teenagers, who are there, and when you come to the report of our identification, you see that there are teenagers who are there, and there are so young adult children who are taking care of their little brothers or sisters. But the case that have affected our mind in the distribution is when we saw a child of 13 years old living with his siblings. The siblings now, one is 8 years old and the other one is 7 years old. It means that the one of 7 years old came in the camp while she was having, like 5 years old, because now they're having 2 and plus some month years in the camp. So they are living alone. But how they are living, I don't know that. You remember when we're coming from the site, we passed through town, we saw some children begging on the cars.
Right, exactly.
those are the children who came without parents. You see that? And now they are living inside without any assistance, without any aid coming from them. The only assistance that they can have is when they got a chance of having someone who can put a coin in their hand when they are begging on the cars passing around the city. So these are the kind of the children who are living there. It's very touchable that you can also see women or mothers of the children who are living in the camp. This is another case. Some of them are very traumatized by what they have faced. And when they are traumatized, they become like losing their mind. I don't know how to call them in English, but they become like people who doesn't have mind, who are not...
mental illness. They need care.
Yes. Who doesn't have the mental? They have lost their mental illness. So, and when they are there, they have bad children with them. So, when they have children with them, they cannot do any work. They cannot go anywhere to do like social activities that can provide something to feed themselves or to feed their children. So what they are doing, they are just taking their children and sending them around to beg for help. And this kind of help is what the children are taking back to the camp. So the crisis is affecting communities and people negatively. We cannot understand. And this, it is not calling for aid, as you used to say. It is not calling for assistance. It is calling for a global solidarity with these communities. Because I want to tell you something that I've never told you, is this. These people are not poor originally from where they come from, because they used to have large lands to cultivate. They used to have businesses in their villages where they came from. But when the war came, when the conflict came, they left everything behind them. You see that? And when they left this thing behind, they become now like people who are poor living in a new community that doesn't belong to them. In these communities, they cannot cultivate because they don't have land. In this community, they cannot build because they don't have small land for construction. They don't have materials. Also, without humanitarian assistance, they cannot eat. You see? Because no businesses they can do without money. So some families that are still organized, what they're doing, they're just going around the camp, like Bushagara, like Muja, like Kanyaruchiya, trying to beg for work to wash the clothes for some people who are living around, or to cultivate the field, sow the field for some people. Then they get like payment of clothes, like payment of food. You can give 1 kilogram of sugar, 1 kilogram of beans, and then they can go and feed themselves. This is the kind of live these people are now obliged to live, not because they want so, but it's because the war has obliged them to live in such a way.
Yeah, the war has left them destitute, and that's a very clear picture that you've painted, Omonde, about the conditions in which people have been forced to live in, and really that alone will mess with your mind. That alone will, drive you crazy, so to speak. Having, as you said, their land that they're farming, they have businesses, they're at least being able to take care of themselves, and because of this conflict, in this war imposed upon them, they're now sent into another area of the country where they're destitute and groveling. So that's really got to wreak havoc on their mental well-being, their mental welfare of the people in the camps. You know, and Omonde, you've it's kind of interesting. When I was at Bulengo, I'd gone to Bulengo, and we're talking to some mamas who were being supported by one of the Basandja Coalition members, Synergie des Femmes. And, you speak about the fatigue, right? One of the mamas shared a story with us that was so very telling. She said, an older lady, Omonde, she said, she knew where to come, right? Specifically in the Bulengo camp for support with Synergie des Femmes, right? She had been displaced. I think it may have been Ruchu or one of the other areas, right? And she said that she knew where to come, Omonde, because she had come there in 2012 when she was displaced, right? That's how she knew when Synergie des Femmes was there supporting the women in 2012. At that point, you recall, the M23 rebels, they had actually captured the city of Goma, right? With of course, Rwandan soldiers, not the M23, but Rwandan soldiers. So when you talk about the fatigue, you're talking about, people in the community who've been there, maybe even some humanitarian organizations been there well over a decade. And to see this recurring, yet again, and according to some accounts, even more intensified, right? In terms of the rapes, in terms of the displacement and the rape of the women, displacement of the people, right? So, you really painted a picture that is so telling about the scale, right, of the challenge, right? The scope of the destitution that the people are facing. So I don't know. It's those people, those Gomatricians, let's say, who are on the front lines and doing what they can in order to support their fellow Congolese who are just left with nothing. And how much of that do you see where average people in Goma are doing what they can to provide some level or modicum of support to folks who just been left without anything?
Yes, as you said, I can remember the case of the woman from Masisi. She's from Masisi, that woman who is living in the camp of Bulengo. Mm-hmm. I don't know the woman, but I know that many displaced people who are living in Bulengo and Rusayu, they come from Masisi.
Masisi, okay.
Yes, that is what I can recall. And many of them also came from Sake. Sake is now the territory that is targeted by the M23 group, but closed by the Wazalendos and the FRDC troops. So the crisis has taken now long. You can say DRC is among the countries that have faced the longest crisis of history, among the longest crises in our generation history. Passing over 30 years in crisis is not easy. So, and it is like stopping and then coming. Let me come back to the recent crisis, this one of 2012. The same people who are living in those internal displaced sites, as you say, they're the same people who have been there in 2013 and 12. You can see. So it's very easy and very possible to get a child who has never slept at peace since he born. A teenager child, a teenager girl or boy who has never slept at peace since he born. From 2013 up to now, you can count how many years. And before they became displaced, the fight started in their villages. It can take like 1 year or 2 years in their villages, running from this place to another place. This is a challenge to these people. So when now they became displaced, you will see a woman, maybe she has been raped from the village where it came from, or is doing sexual exploitation work in the site. Sexual work, this I can say money for sex or sex for money, for her to survive. Now, what if she has been doing that since 2013 for her to live? Children have been dropping out from school because of this. Imagine from 2013, 2012, they ran away for 2 years. If he was in P6, primary 6, for 2 years he stopped, then he became a teenager. He stopped directly, he dropped out from school. Their life is very impacted by that. So it became like a fatigue because it's ongoing and stopping, ongoing and stopping crash. You see that? And the same humanitarian organization that has been assisting these people, they're the same people again who will come with another assistance. You see that one? So, and the same communities that has been impacted by these people are the same host communities that are again facing the same issues. You see that? On the beginning of this active conflict in 2021, of course, there have been a mobilization around the city of Goma. Young people groups, church groups, school groups, local organization groups, going to do the assistance like food distribution, porridge distribution to children, meal distribution in schools. But because it has become now like a very long crisis, these people are tired. You see that? That is one. And why are they tired? Because the sources of income, many people here in Goma used to live by going outside to Masisi, to Ruchuru to cultivate, but no longer doing such activities. So when they are not doing such activities, they stop. They cannot have what to give outside, while themselves, they don't have what to feed themselves inside. You see that? So this is how the people are taking this crisis a kind of a long way crisis that brings a kind of a fatigue to the community, and the internal displaced people can just see that humanitarian organizations are decreasing.
Even as the crisis increases.
Yes, have decreased their donation, even if the crisis has increases, you see. Now let me tell you what challenge we are having now in humanitarian organization. The challenge is this. We had 2.7 million internal displaced people this year, 2024. But 2025, we are going to have more than 5 million internal displaced people, only in North Kivu. Because the territory of Lubero itself, it has more than 5 million people living there. You see that? As the crisis has taken now to Lubero, what do you think about 2025? Water is still a problem to the local, to the old IDPs. They can't have water. Toilets are a problem. Shelters are a problem. Food assistance is still a problem. You see that? So it's a kind of a long way assistance that we need, which also, seeing what is happening around the globe, the people are no longer concerned much about DRC. People are kind of disconcerted about what is happening in DRC and being much concerned about what is happening in the Middle East part of the world. You know much about that than myself. Gaza is at war, Ukraine is at war, and other zone, Iran, Lebanon, all of these places. So the crisis of DRC is becoming like a forgotten crisis because of all of that. So we are now in a challenge in our humanitarian assistance of seeing what will 2025 looks like with what we are having today. Firstly, 2024 was a big challenge. You see that? And 2025 is coming with new challenges that we don't know if the conflict is going to get resolved, because the M23 themselves, they said they cannot stop the fighting because they are not concerned about anything that is happening in Rwanda or in Angola. As long as they are not initiated in the process of Angola, they are not concerned. So even if the president of Rwanda accepts to go in Angola, it is still a challenge if the M23 are not there. And also on the side of the DRC government, they have already declared the M23 to be a terrorist
group. Yeah.
Being declared a terrorist group, according to our constitution, our government cannot negotiate with a terrorist group unless if the government remove that
label,
that name of terrorist. Maybe that is when they can negotiate, and we don't know if that will be done. But the issue is this: the crisis is becoming a very long-wait crisis, and it is having again a long impact. Let me share with you another sad story. We have been doing the school feeding program in Bulengo, where we have visited, and Bujari, also you have been there, and Rosayu.
Right, up the hill from Bulengo.
When we're doing that program, is 2021, 2022, and 2023. So when we stopped, one teacher called me, headmaster of one school, internal displaced school. He called me and says, William, we need you here in Bulengo right now. I said, to do what? He said, you come, then I'll tell you. I said, please, can you send me a message because I'm in a meeting? He said, yes, let me do it from Messenger. He sent a message. He said, 4 little girls among your beneficiaries have been raped while they went in forests looking for firewood. How old was those girls? One was 10 years old, another one 8 years old, another one 12 years old, another one 15 years old. They were raped. When I heard the message, I were in a meeting with UNICEF, WASH cluster meeting. I just brought up a message and I showed them. You can see the consequences of what is happening in this province. Children are being raped. We cannot count the numbers of women who has been sexually violated or raped. And these children were not physically raped, but they were both physically and sexually raped by the unknown people. You can see that. I mentioned 4 children. And this is not a kind of a story I create, but this is a reality of what is happening here on site. Then when I heard the story, I asked the headmaster, what did you do for the first emergency aid to these children? They said, no, we called up to Ill Africa because Ill Africa by that time was having a program of sexual and gender to heal and to take care of these people who are affected by that. They took out the 4 children and they brought them to the hospital, to the Hill Africa hospital. These data are still there, I know, in Hill Africa data. So you can see the way the crisis have impacted children. And this came just because we stopped doing the school feeding program. Because if we were keeping out doing the school feeding program, maybe the children won't go to look for firewood in the forest. They will be in classroom. But as we stopped doing the school feeding program, children also stopped coming to schools. We're feeding in that school alone 5,476 children. When we stopped the assistance, 3,050 children left abandoned, dropped out from school. You see that? So it means that 3,050 children by that time were exposed to all this kind of violences, accidents, and other issues,
violations
in their community. You see. So this is becoming a kind of a crisis that is looking like to be a Congolese crisis today. According to what I'm seeing here, this crisis, if it is not well managed, it can have a very negative impact, and it can affect the whole Great Lakes region. Country in the future.
Yeah, and we talked about that with our brother from Uganda, and we'll bring him on to discuss, the Great Lakes region as a whole. But Omonde, you talk about going into 2025. You had made an appeal to the Basandja Coalition and its members for emergency support, immediate support, because of the season that you're in, the rainy season, and the need. And we have and members of the Basandja Coalition are doing what they can to support, where you're able to get tents for 200 families, but you need so much more to support many more families. And maybe you can walk us through, if Kwadwo can cue up the work that you're doing in terms of just emergency support. I know you talk about 2025, but right now, the rainy season, you can describe to us, what's going on with the emergency support that you provided. Kwadwo, if you can.
Yes. Thank you so much. This is the period that we are living, the rain season period. And the rain season period in Goma, the rain usually used to rain at night. And when it rains at night, thousands of people in this camp where we came with assistance, in the Bushagara camp, they have 5,856 household or shelters there will constructed. They got the last tent assistance in 2021. So it means that by now their tents all are destroyed. They are almost sleeping at moonlight or outside. What they are doing when it rains, they are just standing up when it starts raining, going in the corner where the rain are not coming inside the house. They stood up. The sad story is this: I saw a woman with my own eyes. I think I shared with you the picture, holding a child when it was raining in the house, standing in the corner, waiting for the rain to stop. Then she could go and sit around the table eating. Another one, waiting for the rain to stop. The rain switched off the firewood that the fire that she was cooking with food, just waiting for the rain to stop. Then she could go and start recooking the food. So this kind of assistance is coming to alleviate for a short period, because the tent that we are giving can only last for 6 months. And after 6 months, they will be again in another need of the tent. So far, with the Basandja Coalition, we have done the identification of need. They have supported that, and we have identified several needs. the priority of priority for these people was to do this distribution. And you remember that you have sent another fund to do also the identification of beneficiaries, the most affected people, the most vulnerable people in emergency need of tents, of these tents. We have identified more than 1,500 families that are in emergency need of tents. But we understood with the challenges of funds, with the challenges of resources, that the Basandja Coalition has done their best to send the first assistance for 100 families. That was done at first.
Did we lose Omonde? He stayed on for quite a bit. Maybe he'll come back. Okwajo, if you can center. Yeah, what Omonde was talking about, as he said, 1,500 families in need of emergency support, just tents that can last them for 6 months. Yes, you mentioned the first delivery of the 100. You can continue from there.
Yes, the first delivery was for 100 tents that we gave to the families, and the second assistance was for 200 tents. So you can see that from the 1,500 households that we have identified, 1,300 households remain. One tent, we are buying one tent at $15 US. I think this is also important to mention.
Right.
And you can see that there are many challenges while we do the distribution of tents. Another sad story. When we're doing the distribution of these tents, 19 old women who were not identified, 19 old women of age of 70, they came to us after the distribution. They said, we are not asking you to give us the tent today because we were not identified. What we are asking you, write please our names on the list. Don't give us any hope, but just seeing our names being written by you on your list, we have already hope that may come one day to give us the tent because we are sleeping outside. Then I said, what is this? Are you putting me in a kind of a test or a tag that I should fill in and give you a promise? I said, no, I won't write down the names. They said, you won't move here if you don't write down our names. I went to the camp management. I put the request there. They said, no, what you can do, just write the name down. Then I said, okay, please let us get this promise, and we want to close this. I'm going to write down your names, but I may or not come. We tent one day. They said, no problem. You just write down the names. I asked the teams to write down the names of the people so that they get the tent. They write down the names. We went back with the names at office. So this is one. Another woman, her husband was identified for the first distribution. He got the tent. The woman was not identified. The husband has 2 wives. So this second one was also identified, but not served at first. She was supposed to be served at the second distribution. As we do have the pictures of the people to whom we give the assistance, to whom we give the tent, when we reached the site, before the distribution, we checked and I saw the guy, the husband of this woman, coming to us saying, I need another tent. For who? For my wife. I said, no. We cannot give 2 tents to one family. We can only give 1 tent per family, as there are many people who are waiting
for
this assistance. The guy gave me the permit that allows him to take the tent. I looked at the permit. It's not a guy, it's a woman. I said, we won't give you the tent. We canceled the name on the list. You will see that name 23 is cancelled on the list. After cancelling the name, the guy went and called the woman. The woman came. It seemed like the guy took the card of the woman without the
permission.
The permission of the woman. Then the woman came to the site, said, no, we have divorced with this guy since we are here in this camp, and he's living with another woman. Please give me the tent, because he came to take the tent so that he could take the tent to the woman he's living with today. I said, no, I won't give you also the tent, because I cannot understand how he picked out from you tent. Maybe you are lying to me so that you can just get the tent. People said, no, she's right, that the husband has 2 wives and whatever. I said, no, I won't give you the tent. My dear Elder Morris, the woman cried on my face. She cried with tears, and when I saw the woman crying, I said, just, oh my God, what incident is this? I won't like to see such thing happening in our distribution. Then we refused. The woman went to the site management. She said, no, GSEO has refused to give me the tent, yet they have my name identified. We went to the site management. We explained the issue to the site management. The woman again cried there. Then I said, no, this should be very serious. Let me find a decision. We were remaining with 7 tents to give. I asked the guy, please, take the tent. We bear the consequences of whatever may happen, so that at least this woman can be healed emotionally, and can be felt like she's considered by the humanitarian people. I went to the woman and I said, my dear mama, sorry, we could not give you the tent out as long as your husband were already saved. But I'm sorry to see your tears, and you can take this tent, go with it. I won't ask you to sign anywhere. You just go with the tent, so that we justify back with our donors when we meet with them. This case is just to explain you how important is this assistance at this period. Right now, as we are talking now, it is raining outside. And for me, whenever the rains come at night, I used to love the rain at night. But since the people are living in internal displaced site, rain has become a problem for me, because whenever it starts raining, I just think about the children standing in shelters. I just think about people stopping sleeping because of rains. You see that? So we need, this is a call for assistance. If anyone around the globe watching this interview is willing, is able, and touched by what we have just said, to give a tent to the people, you can just contact you. And we know that what we are doing is to be the channel, or to be the bridge between the donors and the beneficiaries. We will do our best to do the work as we are saying it here, and to get direct your donations to the people who are in these communities. So, thank you so very much, my dear Elder Morris. I think you might have any other question.
No,
is
thank you, Omonde. We're doing an end of year fund drive. There are more funds coming in for more tents. We're going to do our best to get to the 1,500 or as close as we can. So, you know, those women putting their names on the list, we're going to do our best to make sure that they're served. And we just thank you, not only for just the work you do, but the meticulous way you go about it. And you went in and you did the survey, you documented it, you spoke with the leadership of the camps, and you know, sent us back the spreadsheets, and you know, just everything, the way you're doing it so meticulously and carefully to assure that the people are being served, like those who are most in need. Like everybody, like just everyone is in need, but you went to the most extreme cases. So we encourage people to continue to give for the end of year fund drive. We have more resources coming your way in the coming weeks as funds are released with the work of the Basandja Coalition and their collaboration. And they'll make sure that that you get those funds. In fact, you know, we share with people there are a number of groups that are doing work on the front lines, but they don't have the platform. Remarkable work, but they don't have the platform to shoot the videos and to make the direct appeal. So they count on us to do that, and so that they can get the support and do the work that they're doing to provide the tents, the food, and everything. We'll be coming out with more, identifying and sharing on our page more of these organizations that you probably have never heard of, but are just doing remarkable work on the front lines. And William, your collaboration with the Basandja Coalition is one such example with the Good Samaritans. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And let the mamas know that there are more tents are on the way. And as people have shared in the audience, they're going to be giving to assure that those mamas are served. So thank you so very much.
My dear Elder Maurice, I'm so grateful for these opportunities to talk about the needs of our dear people in the IDP site. As I said, the only one way to give through this chain is to pass through the Friend of the Congo and the Basandja Coalition. I can assure to the communities that are watching us now that their help, their assistance is going direct to the affected communities. You can see by images, by pictures that we shared, and the way we do this so that we respect the do no harm principle is we do engage the local leaders of this site. The IDP committee is engaged so that they help us to identify the most in need. This will be another question when we have another interview.
Yes,
and I can also promise you, dear Elder Maurice, that when we do the third distribution, I don't know how large will that be, but we'll need to say to express our gratitude again to the donors who will donate.
Yes.
I said many organizations are there, need for this assistance to go to do different work. We are doing in education, in shelters, and in wash. Maybe others are doing in training and social integration for the people. The Friend of the Congo and the Basandja Coalition is there to get you connect with such organizations which are doing wonderful work on the communities. Thank you so much. I can see the time has stretched away from me. I should come home.
All right. Thank you, Omonde. I really appreciate you. We'll be back with you. Thank you just for all the amazing work you're doing. And I'm sure people are going to be responding in kind to support your work on the front line. So thanks again.
Thank you so much.
All right. Be well.
Bye-bye, dear Elder Maurice.
Bye-bye.